The night Ji-hoon Lee killed 3 men to save my life, he wouldn't let go of my hand. Even when his knuckles were bleeding and the hallway smelled like gunpowder and death, he just held on, like I was the only real thing left in the world. That's when I knew we'd both already crossed the line, and there was no going back. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you how we got there. Being a billionaire's daughter doesn't mean freedom. It means armed men at every door. It means your father's business partners solve problems with disappearances, not lawsuits. It means you learn one rule early: never look twice at the dangerous men. But Ji-hoon made that impossible. I first saw him on a Tuesday. I remember because Tuesdays were when my father held his private meetings, the ones where I wasn't allowed on the east wing of our estate, the ones where men arrived in black cars with tinted windows and left hours later smelling like cigar smoke and secrets. I was in the garden that day, pretending to read, but really watching the driveway. That's when his car pulled up. Not the usual flashy SUVs my father's associates drove. This was understated, a sleek black sedan that whispered money instead of shouting it. He stepped out, and I swear the air changed. Ji-hoon was Korean, early 40s maybe, tall but not towering. He wore a perfectly tailored charcoal suit that probably cost more than most people's cars, but he moved like the clothes didn't matter, like he could fight in them if he needed to. His hair was dark, pushed back, with just enough silver at the temples to make him look distinguished rather than old, but it was his face that stopped me cold. Sharp jawline, high cheekbones, and eyes that looked like they'd seen the kind of things that keep you up at night. The kind of still that comes from violence. The kind that makes you nervous because you know men like that have survived things that would break ordinary people. He glanced toward the garden. Our eyes met for maybe 3 seconds. His expression didn't change. Didn't smile. Didn't acknowledge me at all. But something flickered in those dark eyes before he looked away and walked into the house. I sat there for 10 minutes after he disappeared inside, my book forgotten, wondering why my heart was racing. That night at dinner, my father was in a good mood. Too good. Which usually meant a deal had gone very well, or very violently. He poured himself a third glass of wine and leaned back in his chair. "We have a new associate joining our security detail," he announced. "Ji-hoon Lee, he'll be staying in the guest house." My mother's fork paused halfway to her mouth. "Korean?" "Yes." "Came highly recommended from our contacts in Seoul. Very experienced." My father's tone suggested we shouldn't ask what kind of experience. "He'll be handling some of our more delicate operations." I kept my eyes on my plate, but I could feel my pulse quickening. He was going to be living here, on our property. "He seems very quiet," my mother observed carefully. My father laughed. "A short, cold sound. The quiet ones are the ones you want, darling. The loud ones are compensating. Ji-hoon doesn't need to compensate for anything." I excused myself early that night, went to my room and stood at the window, looking out at the guest house across the lawn. A single light was on. I wondered what he was doing, if he was unpacking, if he was thinking about whatever he'd left behind in Seoul, if he was thinking about me at all. The next 3 weeks passed in this strange, charged silence. I'd see him around the estate, always professional, always distant. He'd nod politely if we passed each other. Never stopped to talk. Never looked at me longer than necessary. But I noticed things. Like how he was always watching. Not obviously, but his eyes constantly scanned rooms, doorways, windows, looking for threats, calculating exits, like how the other men deferred to him. Even my father's oldest associates, the ones who'd been around since I was a child. They'd be loud and aggressive with each other, but around Ji-hoon they spoke more carefully, moved with more respect, like how he took his coffee black and barely touched the elaborate meals our chef prepared, as if he'd trained himself not to need much, not to want much. And like how sometimes, when he thought no one was looking, his face would go completely blank, empty, and I'd wonder what memories were playing behind those dark eyes. The first time we really spoke was at one of my father's charity galas. You know the kind. Thousands of dollars for a plate of food you barely touch while making small talk with people you can't stand. Everyone there had dirty money they were trying to wash clean, with donations and champagne. I wore a black dress my mother had picked out. Elegant, expensive, appropriate. I looked the part of the perfect billionaire daughter. smiled at the right moments, laughed at unfunny jokes, felt like I was suffocating. I slipped onto the balcony just to breathe. The night air was cold, sharp. The city sprawled below us, all lights and shadows, and found him. Jihoon stood at the railing, alone, staring at the skyline like he was reading it for threats. His sleeves were rolled up to his elbows, revealing surprisingly muscular forearms. His bow tie was slightly loosened. His jaw was tight. He turned when he heard the door open. For just a second, his whole face softened. Then the mask came back. "You shouldn't be out here alone," he said quietly. His voice was deeper than I expected, smooth, with just a trace of an accent that made certain words sound almost musical. "Neither should you," I replied, moving to the railing a few feet away from him. The corner of his mouth lifted, barely, but I caught it. We stood there in silence for a moment. Not uncomfortable, just quiet. Below us, car horns honked. Somewhere in the distance, sirens wail. The city breathed around us. "You look tired," he said finally. "Not beautiful, not elegant. Not any of the empty compliments men usually offered at these events. Tired. No one in my life noticed things like that." "I am," I admitted, then added, "These things are exhausting. Pretending is always exhausting." I looked at him sharply. He was still watching the city, but something in his tone suggested he wasn't just talking about charity galas. "Seoul winters are like this," he said almost to himself. "Cold, quiet. You can smell roasted chestnuts from blocks away, street vendors on every corner selling hottok and bunjeopang. Do you miss it?" His expression shifted, just slightly, like a cloud passing over the sun. "I miss who I was there, before." "Before what?" I wanted to ask, but something in his posture told me not to push. The silence stretched between us, thick with unasked questions. Then he stepped closer, just one step. But suddenly the space between us felt charged. He reached toward me. I froze, my breath catching. His fingers brushed my collarbone, feather light, as he fixed the clasp of my necklace that had twisted against my neck. The touch lasted maybe 2 seconds, but I felt it everywhere. "There," he murmured. His hand dropped, but the air between us didn't settle. His eyes met mine, and for just a moment, I saw something raw flicker across his face, something that looked almost like longing. Then he took a step back, and the professional mask slid firmly back into place. I should go. "Wait," my father's voice cut through the moment like a knife. "Jihoon-si." Jihoon's entire body went rigid. He looked at me one last time, something almost like regret flickering across his face, and walked back inside. I stood there on the balcony for another 10 minutes, my hand unconsciously touching the spot where his fingers had been. My heart was racing. My skin felt electric. What the hell was that? After that night, everything changed. Or maybe I just started noticing what had always been there. Jihoon started appearing more often, always near me, never too close, but close enough that I felt his presence like a second shadow. He'd materialize in doorways when I walked through the house at night, position himself near my father during meetings when I happened to be around, stand in the background at family dinners, silent and watchful. At first I thought I was imagining it, that my mind was playing tricks because I couldn't stop thinking about him. But then small things started happening. I'd find a cup of pomegranate tea on my nightstand on nights when I couldn't sleep, still warm. No note, but I knew books I'd been looking for would appear on my desk. Korean literature mostly, Han Kang, Shin Kyung-suk, authors I'd mentioned wanting to read once in passing months ago. Once I caught a cold. Nothing serious, just enough to make me miserable. When I came downstairs for breakfast, there was a small package next to my plate. Korean citron tea and a handwritten note in neat, precise handwriting. For the throat, mix with hot water. JL. I kept that note, slipped it between the pages of my journal where no one would find it. The next time I saw him, I tried to thank him. He was in the hallway outside my father's office, waiting for a meeting. "Thank you," I said quietly, stopping beside him. "For the tea, it helped?" He nodded once. "Good. How did you know I was sick?" "I pay attention." 3 words, but the way he said them made my stomach flip. "To everyone. I asked, bolder than I meant to be. His eyes met mine, held for a beat too long. No. Then my father's office door opened and the moment shattered. Jihoon walked past me into the meeting without another word, leaving me standing in the hallway with my heart pounding. It became a game. This careful dance around each other, him maintaining his professional distance, me finding excuses to be where he was. I started taking morning runs around the estate, knowing he didn't perimeter checks at dawn. He never acknowledged me directly, but I'd catch him watching, making sure I was safe. I'd linger in the library in the evenings, the one room where I knew he'd eventually appear. He'd come in, scan the space, see me curled up in my usual chair and pause, just for a second. Then he'd select a book from the shelf, nod politely and leave. But once he stopped, looked at what I was reading. His expression shifted. Kim Young-ik, he said quietly. A good choice. You've read it? Many times in the original Korean. I held up the English translation. This one is beautiful, but I feel like I'm missing something. Like reading poetry in translation. He was quiet for a moment, then he crossed to where I sat and held out his hand. I gave him the book. He flipped through until he found a particular passage. Here, he said, his finger marking the page. In Korean, this line is 사랑해온 그 무엇보다 큰 기억이다. The English says love is the greatest memory, but the Korean means something more like love is a memory greater than anything else. It's not just a superlative, it's saying love outlasts everything, that even when everything else fades, love remains. He handed the book back. Our fingers brushed, neither of us moved. That's beautiful, I whispered. Yes, he agreed. But he wasn't looking at the book anymore. Then he cleared his throat, stepped back, and left the room quickly. Like staying would be dangerous, I sat there for an hour afterward, rereading that passage over and over, hearing his voice in my head. The next morning, a package appeared outside my door, a Korean edition of the same book with a small note. So you can read it as it was meant to be read. I taught myself Hangul that summer, just so I could understand it. One evening, I found him on the roof. I discovered the access door by accident weeks ago. A forgotten stairwell that led up to a flat section where you could see the whole estate and the city beyond. I went there sometimes when the house felt too small, too suffocating. Apparently, so did he. He was standing near the edge, hands in his pockets, staring at nothing or everything. The sunset painted everything orange and gold, and for a moment he looked almost peaceful. I didn't know anyone else came up here, I said softly, not wanting to startle him. He didn't turn. I checked the perimeter. Make sure no one can access the roof from outside. And you happen to be checking it at sunset? His mouth quirked, almost a smile. Sometimes I stay longer than necessary. I moved to stand beside him, careful to maintain some distance. We watched the sky turn from orange to pink to purple in silence. Why did you leave Korea? I asked finally. The question had been burning in my mind for months. He didn't answer for so long I thought he wouldn't. Then he spoke, his voice low and careful. Because I did things I can't take back, and staying would have meant doing more. What kind of things? He finally looked at me. His eyes were darker than usual in the fading light. The kind that make it hard to sleep, even now. I wanted to reach for him, wanted to tell him that whatever he'd done, whatever he'd been, it didn't change how I saw him. But something in his expression stopped me. And here, I whispered, are you still that person? His voice dropped even lower. Here, I just pretend better. The honesty in those words broke something in my chest. I took a small step closer. I don't think you're as good at pretending as you think you are. His jaw tightened. I should be. I've had enough practice. What are you pretending right now? The question hung between us. Too direct, too honest. I should have taken it back. But I didn't. Jihoon turned to face me fully. The sunset cast shadows across his face, making him look both younger and infinitely older at the same time. That standing this close to you doesn't make me want to do things that would get me killed, he said finally. My breath caught. Jihoon, your father trusts me, brought me into his organization, gave me a place when I had nowhere else to go. His hands flexed at his sides, and I repay that by thinking about his daughter every moment of every day, by finding excuses to be near you, By lying awake at night, imagining. He cut himself off sharply, shook his head. I should go. What are you imagining? He looked at me like I'd just stepped off a cliff. Don't ask me that. Why not? Because if I tell you, everything changes, and I'm not strong enough to pretend anymore if you know. My heart was hammering so hard I could barely breathe. Then don't pretend. For a moment, I thought he might close the distance between us. His eyes dropped to my mouth, then back up. His breathing had changed, faster, heavier. Then he took a step back. You should go inside, it's getting cold. I'm not cold. Please. The word came out rough, almost desperate. Please go inside. I wanted to argue, wanted to push, but something in his face stopped me. He looked like he was barely holding himself together, so I left. But I looked back at the door. He was watching me go, his expression raw and unguarded in a way I'd never seen before, and I knew we were both already falling. The next few weeks were torture, him pulling away, me aching to get close. Every time we were in the same room, the tension was thick enough to cut. He stopped leaving tea on my nightstand, stopped the books, barely looked at me when we passed in the halls. I told myself it was for the best, that whatever this was between us was dangerous and impossible and would only end badly. But then I'd catch him watching me when he thought I wasn't looking, and the expression on his face was so hungry, so desperate, that it made my stomach flip. My father noticed something was different too, started assigning Jihoon to tasks that kept him away from the house, overnight trips, out-of-state meetings, like he sensed a shift in the air and was trying to prevent something he couldn't quite name. 3 weeks after the roof, Jihoon was gone for 6 days straight. Some job in Miami that required my father's most trusted men. When he came back, he looked exhausted, thinner. There was a new scar on his knuckles and shadows under his eyes. I watched from my window as he got out of the car and walked to the guest house. He moved like he was in pain, though he was trying to hide it. That night, I couldn't sleep. Kept thinking about that scar, wondering what had happened, worrying in a way that I had no right to worry. At 2 a.m, I gave up, pulled on a sweater, and went downstairs to the kitchen for water, and found him there. He was sitting at the island in the dark, a glass of whiskey in front of him, his shirt unbuttoned. When I turned on the light, he looked up sharply, his body tensing before he recognized me. Sorry, I said quickly. I didn't know anyone was here. Can't sleep? His voice was rough, tired. No. You? No. I moved slowly to the refrigerator, hyper aware of him watching me. Got my water, should have left, didn't. Are you okay? I asked instead. Fine. Liar. The corner of his mouth lifted despite himself. Observant. What happened in Miami? Nothing you need to worry about. I set my water down and crossed to him. He tensed as I got closer, his knuckles whitening around the glass. Let me see your hand, I said softly. It's nothing. Jihoon. He exhaled slowly, then extended his hand. The knuckles were split and bruised, poorly bandaged. I gently unwrapped the makeshift dressing. This needs to be cleaned properly, I murmured. Wait here. I went to the bathroom, got the first aid kit, came back. He hadn't moved. Was watching me with an expression I couldn't quite read. I pulled up a stool beside him and took his hand in mine, started carefully cleaning the wounds. He didn't flinch, even though I knew it must hurt. You should be more careful, I said. Quietly, I'm always careful. This doesn't look careful. The other guy looks worse. I looked up at him sharply. He was smiling, just a little. The first real smile I'd seen from him in weeks. That's not funny. A little funny. I went back to bandaging his hand, trying to ignore how warm his skin was, how I could feel his pulse under my fingertips, how he smelled like whiskey and smoke and something uniquely him. There, I said finally, though I didn't let go of his hand. Better. Thank you. Neither of us moved. My hand was still wrapped around his. His thumb brushed against my wrist, so lightly I almost thought I imagined it. I missed you, I whispered, before I could stop myself. His intake of breath was sharp. Don't say that. Why not? Because it makes it harder. Makes what harder? He gently pulled his hand away, creating distance between us again, staying away from you. Then stop staying away. I can't. Why not? And because he stood abruptly, running his good hand through his hair in frustration. Because your father would kill me. Because you deserve someone who isn't broken. Because I'm twice your age. Because I've done things that would make you sick if you knew. Because you're scared. I finished softly. He looked at me like I'd just punched him. Yes, terrified. I stood up too, closing the distance between us before my courage failed. Of what? Of this. His voice cracked slightly. Of how much I want you. Of how I think about you constantly. Of how I'd burn down this entire city if it meant keeping you safe. Of how completely you've destroyed every defense I've ever built. My heart was racing. Jehoot, I'm not a good man, he said roughly. I've killed people, hurt people. I have blood on my hands that will never wash clean. And I'm standing here thinking about kissing you. And I know I shouldn't. And I know all the reasons it's wrong. But God help me. I kissed him, rose up on my toes and pressed my lips to his, cutting off his words. For a moment he froze, shocked. Then he made a sound low in his throat and pulled me against him, kissing me back like a drowning man finding air. His hands came up to frame my face, gentle despite their violence. The kiss was everything I'd imagined and nothing like I expected. Soft but intense. Careful but desperate. Like he was memorizing the taste of me. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against mine. We can't do this, he whispered. We just did. Your father, I don't care. You should, he'll kill me. Then we'll be careful. He pulled back slightly to look at me, his eyes searching my face. Why? Why what? Why me? You could have anyone safe, anyone appropriate. Why would you want someone like me? I reached up to cup his face, feeling the slight stubble on his jaw. Because you see me, the real me. Not the billionaire's daughter, not the perfect socialite, just me. And because when you look at me, I feel like I'm the only person in the world. And because you brought me pomegranate tea and Korean novels and never asked for anything in return. And because you're not nearly as broken as you think you are. His eyes closed. I want to believe that. Then believe it. He opened his eyes again, and the intensity in them made my breath catch. If we do this, I won't be able to stop. Do you understand? I won't be able to just walk away. Good. I don't want you to. He kissed me again. Slower this time, deeper. His hand slid into my hair, tilting my head to get a better angle. I gripped his shirt, pulling him closer, feeling his heart racing against mine. When we broke apart this time, he was smiling. A real smile, the kind that transformed his whole face. You're going to be the death of me, he murmured, probably. He laughed, actually laughed. The sound was rusty, like he didn't do it often, but it was beautiful. He paused. We need to be smart about this. Your father can't know, not yet, maybe not ever. I know. And we have to be careful. There are people in this house who would use you against me, or use me against you. I know. He tucked a strand of hair behind my ear, his touch unbearably tender. I'm serious. This world, my world, it's dangerous. And if anyone finds out you're important to me, you become a target. I've been a target my whole life, being a billionaire's daughter, remember? This is different. How? His expression turned dark. Because the people I've angered don't just kill. They destroy. They take everything you love and make you watch while they burn it. And I've angered a lot of people. A chill ran down my spine. What people? He shook his head. Later. Right now, I just want... He pulled me close again, burying his face in my hair. Let me have this. Just for a moment. We stood there in the dark kitchen, holding each other, the house silent around us. I felt his heart beating against my chest, steady and strong. Felt his breath against my neck. Felt safe in a way I'd never felt before. I should go, he finally murmured, before someone finds us. Stay, just a little longer. If I stay longer, I won't leave at all. Would that be so bad? He pulled back to look at me, his expression serious. Yes, because I want to do this right. I want to be worthy of you, and that means being careful, being smart, protecting you, even from myself. I wanted to argue, wanted to tell him I didn't need protecting. But the sincerity in his eyes stopped me. Okay, I said softly, but tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll find a way to see you properly, not stolen moments in dark kitchens. I'll hold you to that. He kissed me one more time, soft, sweet, a promise. Then he left, disappearing into the night like smoke. I stood there for a long time afterward, my fingers touching my lips, wondering if I'd just made the best or worst decision of my life. Probably both. The next 3 months were the happiest of my life and the most terrifying. We were so careful, too careful. Stolen kisses in empty hallways, whispered conversations in the garden after dark, text messages deleted as soon as they were read. He taught me more Korean. We'd sit in the library late at night, him correcting my pronunciation, his voice patient and warm. Sometimes his hand would linger on mine. Sometimes our knees would touch under the table, small touches that felt electric. He told me about Seoul, about growing up in Gangnam before it was famous, about his grandmother who made the best kimchi jjigae, about joining his first crew at 17 because he had no other options. I told him about the loneliness of growing up rich, about private schools where I never fit in, about watching my father become someone I didn't recognize, about dreams of a normal life that felt impossibly far away. What would you do, he asked one night, if you could have anything, any life? I thought about it. Something quiet, maybe open a bookstore or teach. Have a small apartment somewhere the city doesn't know my name. Just be normal. That sounds nice. What about you? He was quiet for a long moment. I used to want revenge. Then I wanted to disappear. Now? He looked at me. Now I just want to keep you safe. Everything else is secondary. My heart clenched. That's not enough. You deserve to want things for yourself. You are for myself. Before I could respond, we heard footsteps. He immediately moved away, picking up a book from the nearby shelf. By the time one of my father's men walked past the library door, we looked like two people who happened to be reading in the same room. It was always like that, moments of connection shattered by the need for secrecy. But sometimes we'd get lucky. My father sent me to a fundraiser one evening. Jihoon was assigned as my security, along with 2 other men. But the other men stayed outside while Jihoon accompanied me into the venue. We moved through the crowd together, him always a step behind, professional and alert. But in elevators, when we were briefly alone, his hand would find mine. His fingers would squeeze gently before letting go as the doors opened. During the dinner, I excused myself to the restroom. When I came out, he was waiting in the hallway. Everything okay? He asked quietly. Fine. Just needed a break from the speeches. He glanced around, checking for cameras, for people. Then he pulled me into an alcove, his mouth finding mine in a kiss that was too brief, but still perfect. I've been wanting to do that all night, he murmured against my lips. Me too. His thumb brushed my cheek. You look beautiful. I meant to tell you earlier, but we were in the car with 2 other men? Exactly. I smiled. You look pretty good yourself, very James Bond. He laughed softly. James Bond never had to worry about his boss finding out he was kissing his daughter. Maybe he should have. Would have made the movies more interesting. Or much shorter. James Bond kisses wrong woman, gets immediately shot, credits roll. I was laughing when we heard voices. We sprang apart just before 2 women rounded the corner. Jihoon's face went instantly professional. Miss, he said formally, we should return to the event. Of course. But as we walked back, his hand brushed against mine, just for a second, a secret touch that made my heart race. It wasn't enough, would never be enough, but it was something. The first crack appeared on a Wednesday. I was having lunch with my mother when my father came home unexpectedly. He was furious, slammed his office door so hard the house shook. 10 minutes later, he called Jihoon in. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but my father's voice was raised, angry, accusatory. Then silence. When Jihoon emerged 30 minutes later, his face was blank, but his jaw was tight. He walked past me without looking, without acknowledging me at all. That night, he didn't come to the library, or the next night, or the night after that. For a week, he barely looked at me. When we did pass in the halls, he'd nod politely, like I was just the boss's daughter, nothing more. It was driving me insane. Finally, I cornered him in the garage. He was checking one of the cars, preparing for some job my father had assigned. What happened? I demanded. Nothing. Liar, you haven't spoken to me in a week. I've been busy. June. He turned to face me, and the expression on his face made my stomach drop. Cold, distant. The professional mask back in place. We need to stop this, he said flatly. What? This, us, whatever this is, it needs to stop. I felt like he'd just punched me. Why? Because your father is getting suspicious. Because it's dangerous. Because you're scared, I said again. His jaw tightened. Yes, I'm scared. Your father pulled me into his office and asked if I had any inappropriate feelings toward you. And I had to look him in the eye and lie, and then he told me about what happened to the last man who looked at you wrong. How they found him in the river 3 weeks later. My blood ran cold. He was testing you. Maybe. Or maybe he knows and he's warning me. Either way, this is over. No. You don't get a say in this. The hell I don't. My voice rose. You don't get to kiss me, tell me you can't stop thinking about me, and then just walk away because you're scared. I'm not scared for me. I'm scared for you. I can take care of myself. No, you can't. You don't understand what these people are capable of. What I'm capable of. If your father ordered me to hurt someone, I would. If he ordered me to kill someone, I would. That's who I am. And you're standing here looking at me like I'm some kind of hero when I'm just what? A monster trying very hard to pretend to be a man. The words hung between us, raw and brutal. I stepped closer. He held his ground, but I saw the tension in his body, like he was fighting the urge to reach for me. You're not a monster, I said quietly. You're a man who's done what he had to do to survive. There's a difference. Is there? Yes. He closed his eyes. This is a mistake. Probably, but I don't care. You should. Well, I don't. I reached up and took his face in my hands, forcing him to look at me. I don't care what you've done. I don't care what my father thinks. I don't care how dangerous this is. I just care about you. His hands came up to grip my wrists, not pulling away, just holding on. If anything happened to you because of me, then we'll deal with it together. Your father will kill me. Not if we're smart. We're not being smart. We're being reckless and stupid, and I kissed him hard, desperate, pouring every ounce of feeling I had into it. He resisted for maybe half a second. Then he was kissing me back, his hands sliding into my hair, pulling me closer. The kiss was fierce, hungry, like we'd been starving for each other. When we broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against mine. You're going to destroy me, he whispered. Good. We can be destroyed together. He laughed, a short, broken sound. How are you so sure about this? Because I am. Because when I'm with you, I feel like myself for the first time in my life. Because you make me feel safe and terrified and alive all at once. And because I love you. The words were out before I could stop them. Too soon, too much, too honest. He went very still. You don't mean that, he said finally. I do. You can't. Too late. He pulled back to look at me, his eyes searching my face. Say it again. I love you. His expression cracked. All the control, all the careful distance just shattered. He pulled me against him, holding me so tight I could barely breathe. I love you too, he whispered against my hair. God help me. I love you too. I've loved you since that night on the balcony. Maybe even before that. And I've been terrified every single day since. I pulled back just enough to see his face. Then stop being terrified. Be with me. Really be with me. If we do this, if we really do this, there's no going back. I don't want to go back. He studied my face for a long moment, then he nodded slowly. Okay. But we need rules. We need to be smarter than we have been. Your father can never know. No one in this house can know. We're careful, always. Agreed. And if things get dangerous, if I think you're in any danger at all, you have to trust me. You have to do what I say, no questions asked. Okay. I'm serious. This world doesn't forgive mistakes. One slip and I understand. He cupped my face gently. I won't let anything happen to you, I promise. I know. He kissed me again. Softer this time, sweeter. Like sealing a promise. We stayed there in the garage for another 20 minutes, just holding each other, whispering plans and promises, making a future out of stolen moments and secrets. If you're enjoying this story, please hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. 3 weeks later, everything fell apart. It started with a phone call. My father received it during dinner. His face went white, then red with fury. He excused himself. Came back 10 minutes later looking like someone had just declared war on him. Pack a bag, he told my mother. We're going to the safe house. What? Why? The Cheongdu faction knows we've been moving in on their territory. They've made threats. I'm not taking chances. My stomach dropped. The Cheongdu faction. I'd heard whispers about them. Korean Mafia. Vicious, unforgiving. What about... My mother started. The men will handle it. Ji-hoon will coordinate the security team here. We need to go. Now. Within an hour, my parents were gone. The estate went into lockdown. Every entrance guarded. Security doubled. And Ji-hoon everywhere at once. Coordinating, checking, preparing for war. I tried to catch him alone, but he was moving too fast, too focused. Finally, around midnight, I found him in the security office reviewing camera feeds. What's happening? I asked quietly. He glanced up, saw me, and immediately checked that we were alone. Retaliation. Your father's been cutting into their business for months. They finally decided to push back. Is it serious? Very. Are we in danger? He hesitated, then nodded. Potentially, but I won't let anything happen to you. Ji-hoon, you need to stay in your room. Keep your door locked. If anything happens, if you hear anything wrong, you call me immediately. He handed me a phone I'd never seen before. This is a secure line, directly to me. Don't use your regular phone. Don't trust anyone except me. I took the phone, fear creeping up my spine. You're scaring me. His expression softened. He crossed to me, pulled me into his arms briefly. I know, I'm sorry, but I need you to be scared enough to be careful. Can you do that for me? I nodded against his chest. Good girl. He kissed the top of my head. Go to your room, lock your door. I'll come check on you when I can. Promise? Promise. I went to my room, locked the door, sat on my bed with that secure phone clutched in my hand, listening to the house settle into an uneasy silence. At 3 a.m, I heard the first gunshot. I scrambled off my bed, my heart pounding. More shots, shouting, the sounds of fighting. The power went out. I grabbed the phone, called Ji-hoon. It rang once, twice. Stay where you are, his voice came through, rough and urgent. Don't open your door for anyone except me. What's happening? They're here, in the house. I'm coming to you. Just stay... A gunshot close to him. He cursed in Korean. Stay hidden. I'm coming. The line went dead. I backed into my closet, closing the door, wrapping myself in darkness. My hands were shaking. I could hear the fighting getting closer. Screams, more gunshots, the sounds of bodies hitting the floor. Then my bedroom door exploded inward. I pressed my hand over my mouth to keep from screaming. Heavy footsteps, a flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. Find the girl, a voice said, Korean accent, heavy, dangerous. Boss wants her alive. Oh God, I heard them searching, overturning furniture, getting closer to the closet. The door ripped open. A flashlight blinded me. Rough hands grabbed my arm, dragged me out. Got her, the man said into a radio. I tried to fight, kicked, scratched. He backhanded me hard enough that I saw stars. Then he started dragging me toward the door, and Ji-hoon appeared. I've never seen anything like what happened next. He moved like violence personified. The first man didn't even have time to react before his neck snapped. The second reached for his gun. Ji-hoon broke his arm, took the gun, and used it to shoot a third man coming through the door. 3 men dead in maybe 5 seconds. Then he turned to me, and his eyes were wild, desperate. Are you hurt? I shook my head, unable to speak. He grabbed my hand. Stay behind me. Don't let go. We moved through the house, him leading, me following. My hand gripped in his so tight it hurt. The house was a war zone, bodies on the floor, blood on the walls, the sounds of fighting everywhere. We made it to the hallway. 3 more men appeared. Ji-hoon pushed me behind him, shielded me with his body, and fought them all at once. I watched him kill to protect me, watched him move with a brutal efficiency that should have terrified me. Watched him take a knife to the shoulder and barely flinch. When they were down, he checked me over quickly. His hands were shaking. You're okay, you're okay. He kept repeating, more to himself than to me. Your shoulder doesn't matter. We need to get you out of here. We made it outside. The guest house was burning, more fighting in the gardens. Jihoon got me to one of the cars, shoved me inside. Stay down, don't move. He was about to close the door when someone grabbed him from behind, a man twice his size. With a gun, I screamed. Just could Jihoon fought him. They struggled. The gun went off once, twice. Both men fell. Jihoon! I was out of the car before I could think. He was on the ground, blood spreading across his shirt, but he was moving. Alive, the other man wasn't. Get back in the car, Jihoon gasped. You're hurt. I'm fine. Get in the car. We need to go. He dragged himself to his feet, somehow made it to the driver's seat, started the engine with hands covered in blood. We sped away from the estate, sirens wailing behind us. He drove for maybe 20 minutes before pulling into an underground parking garage I'd never seen before. A safe house, one of my father's many hiding places. The second he turned off the engine, I was checking his wounds. The shoulder. Decide where he'd been shot. You need a hospital. Can't. They'll ask questions. I have supplies upstairs. I can patch it. I've done worse. He could barely walk. I had to support him up the stairs into a bare apartment with nothing but basic furniture and a kitchen stocked with medical supplies. I helped him to the couch, started pulling his shirt off. The wounds were bad. Really bad. I don't know what I'm doing, I said, panic rising in my throat. I'll talk you through it. And he did, walk me through cleaning the wounds, stopping the bleeding, bandaging them properly. His voice steady, even though his face was white with pain. When I finished, my hands were covered in his blood. I was shaking. You saved my life, I whispered. Of course I did. You could have died, but I didn't. Jihoon, he reached for me with his good arm, pulled me down next to him on the couch. I'm okay. We're okay. I buried my face in his chest, careful to avoid his wounds, started crying, all the fear and adrenaline and terror finally crashing over me. He held me, whispered in Korean, soft, soothing words I didn't understand, but felt in my bones. What are you saying? I finally asked. That you're safe, that I have you, that nothing will hurt you while I'm alive. I pulled back to look at him. His face was pale, exhausted, streaked with blood. But his eyes were clear. I love you, I said. I love you too. We stayed there on that couch all night, me curled against him holding me with his good arm, both of us alive, together. When morning came, he checked his phone. His face went dark. What is it? 4 of my men are dead. 2 more in critical condition. Your father's estate is destroyed, and the Cheongdu faction is claiming responsibility. What does that mean? He looked at me. It means war, real war. Your father will retaliate. They'll hit back. It's going to get worse before it gets better. What do? We stay here until your father gives the all clear. Could be days, maybe a week. I should have been terrified, should have been thinking about my family, my safety, all the logical things. Instead, I was thinking about being alone with him for days. No one, watching. No one we had to hide from. A week? I repeated. Something in my tone made him look at me sharply. Then understanding dawned in his eyes. Don't, he said quietly. Don't what? Look at me like that. Not right now. I'm injured and exhausted. And I kissed him. Cut off his protest with my mouth on his. He resisted for maybe 2 seconds before kissing me back with desperate intensity. We shouldn't, he murmured against my lips. We're alone. Finally alone. No one can see us. No one's watching. I'm hurt. Then I'll be gentle. He groaned, a sound that went straight through me. You're going to kill me. Eventually, but not tonight. His good hand came up to cup my face. Are you sure? Because there's no taking it back. I don't want to take it back. He searched my eyes, looking for doubt, for hesitation. Found none. Okay, he whispered. Okay. I helped him to the bedroom. He winced as he moved, but his eyes never left me. I could feel the intensity of his gaze like a physical touch. In the bedroom, I was suddenly nervous. This was different from kissing. This was real. Complete. He seemed to sense my hesitation. We can stop, he said gently. Anytime you want to stop, we stop. I don't want to stop. I've never. Understanding crossed his face. Never? I shook my head. His expression shifted, became impossibly tender. Then we go slow. And if it's too much, if you're scared, you tell me. I'm not scared, not with you. He pulled me close with his good arm, kissed me slowly, thoroughly, like we had all the time in the world, and we did. For the first time, we actually did. What followed was gentle, careful. He guided me through everything with infinite patience, checking in constantly, making sure I was okay. The pain and pleasure mixed together in ways I hadn't expected. His whispered words in Korean, my gasps in English, bodies learning each other in the darkness. When it was over, we lay tangled together, its fingers tracing patterns on my skin. Are you okay? He asked softly. More than okay. He kissed my forehead. Good. How's your shoulder? I'd take a bullet again if it meant having this night with you. I smacked his chest lightly. Don't even joke about that. He smiled, actually smiled. Full and genuine and beautiful. I love you. I love you too. We stayed in that safe house for 5 days. 5 days of existing in a bubble where the outside world didn't matter, where we could just be us. He taught me more Korean. We cooked together in the tiny kitchen, watched old movies on the small TV, made love slowly, carefully, learning each other completely. At night, I'd lie in his arms and he'd tell me stories about Korea, about his grandmother, about the man he used to be before the violence claimed him. Do you ever think about going back? I asked one night. Sometimes, but I can't. There are people there who would kill me on sight. What did you do? He was quiet for a long time. I was part of a crew that worked for one of the major families, did their dirty work. Enforcement, collection, sometimes worse. I was good at it, too good, made enemies. What changed? I killed someone I shouldn't have. Someone important, someone's son. They put a price on my head. I had to run. Your father offered me a place here, a new start. So I took it. Do you regret it? Which part? Any of it. He thought about it. I regret the things I've done, the people I've hurt, but I don't regret the path that led me to you, so no, I don't regret it. I kissed him, poured every ounce of feeling into it. We'll figure this out, I whispered. Somehow, we'll find a way to be together. Your father. We'll figure him out too. You're so certain. I have to be, because the alternative is losing you, and I won't do that. He held me tighter. I won't let that happen either. On the 6th day, his phone rang. It was my father. Ji-hoon's entire demeanor changed, professional, alert. Yes, sir, understood. We'll be there in an hour. He hung up, looked at me. It's over. The Cheongdu faction has been dealt with. We can go back. Back to reality. Back to hiding. Back to being careful. I must have looked devastated because he crossed to me, pulled me close. Hey, this doesn't change anything. I still love you. We'll still find ways to be together. It won't be the same. No, but we'll make it work. The drive back to the estate was silent, both of us lost in thought, dreading what came next. The estate looked like a war zone. Windows shattered, bullet holes in the walls, bloodstains on the driveway that someone had tried to wash away. My parents were waiting. My mother rushed to hug me, crying. My father stood back, watching Ji-hoon with an expression I couldn't read. You kept her safe, he said finally. Yes, sir. Took a bullet doing it. 2, actually. My father's eyes narrowed slightly. And you brought her to the safe house. Stayed with her for 5 days. It was the safest option. The air was thick with tension. I could feel my heart pounding. Ji-hoon-si, my father said slowly. Come to my office, we need to talk. Oh God. Ji-hoon glanced at me briefly. His face was calm, but I saw the tension in his jaw. Of course, sir. He followed my father inside, the door closed behind them. I stood there, frozen, terrified. My mother was talking, but I couldn't hear her. 20 minutes passed, the longest 20 minutes of my life. Then the office door opened. Ji-hoon emerged. His face was unreadable. He looked at me. Something flickered in his eyes. Then he walked past without a word and headed to the guest house. My father appeared in the doorway. "Come here," he said. I followed him into his office on shaking legs. He closed the door, gestured for me to sit. "I'm not stupid," he said without preamble. "I see the way he looks at you, the way you look at him. I've known for months." My blood ran cold. "Dad, let me finish." He poured himself a drink, took a long sip. "Jihoon is a good man. Better than most in this business. He's loyal, capable, and he nearly died protecting you last week. That counts for something." "What are you saying?" He looked at me, really looked at me. "I'm saying I'm not blind, and I'm not happy about it, but I'm also not going to kill him. Yet." "Dad, but there are conditions, rules. He wants to be with you. He does it properly. No sneaking around, no disrespect. He wants my daughter. He asked my permission like a man." I couldn't breathe. "You're okay with this?" I didn't say that. I said I'm not going to kill him. There's a difference, but... He sighed, suddenly looked older. "You're my daughter, my only child, and you look at him the way your mother used to look at me, before I became this. And maybe you deserve something better than what I had, something that isn't built entirely on blood and secrets." Tears were streaming down my face. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet. He still has to prove himself. And if he ever hurts you in any way, I will kill him. Slowly. Do you understand?" "Yes." "Good. Now get out of my office and tell him to come back here. We have things to discuss." I practically ran to the guest house, found Jihoon pacing in his living room, looking like he was preparing for execution. "He knows," I said breathlessly. "He's known for months, and he's okay with it. Kind of." "He wants to talk to you again." Jihoon stared at me. "What?" "He said you have to do it properly, ask his permission, respect me, but he's not going to kill you." "Are you sure? Because that could be a trick to get me to confess." "I'm sure." He ran his hand through his hair. "Your father is okay with us. That's not possible. He said I look at you the way my mother used to look at him, and that maybe I deserve something better than what he has." Jihoon sank onto the couch. "I need to sit down." I sat beside him, took his hand. "So you'll talk to him?" Yes, I'll talk to him." "And you'll ask his permission? Properly?" He looked at me. "You want this? Really want this? Because once I do this, once I make this official, there's no hiding anymore. Everyone will know, and it might make you a target. I don't care. You might later. Then I'll deal with it later. With you." He cupped my face gently. "You're sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything." He kissed me, soft and sweet and full of promise. "Okay," he whispered. "Okay, I'll talk to him. Do this right." That evening, Jihoon went back to my father's office. They were in there for over an hour. I waited in my room, pacing, unable to sit still. Finally, there was a knock on my door. Jihoon stood there. He looked shell-shocked. "Well," I demanded. He said yes, with conditions. A lot of conditions, but yes. I threw my arms around him. He caught me, spinning me slightly before wincing and setting me down carefully. "Easy on the shoulder," he said with a laugh. "What conditions?" "That I protect you always. That I never lie to you. That I treat you with respect. That if I ever make you cry, he reserves the right to shoot me." That was actually in his list. "Make her cry, I shoot you." I laughed through my tears. "That sounds like him." And he pulled back slightly. "He wants us to take it slow. No moving in together immediately. No rushing into anything. He wants to make sure this is real. That I'm serious." "Are you serious?" He looked at me with such intensity it made my breath catch. "I've never been more serious about anything in my life. I want to build a life with you, a real life. And yes, it'll be complicated. Yes, it'll be dangerous sometimes. But I want it anyway. I want you anyway." "Then let's do it. Let's build something real." He kissed me, long and deep and full of promise. "I love you," he murmured against my lips. "I love you too." We stood there in my doorway, holding each other, no longer hiding, no longer afraid. The next few months were an adjustment. People knew now. My father's men, my mother's friends, everyone watching, judging, whispering. But Jihoon didn't care. He'd take my hand in front of everyone, kiss me goodbye, before leaving for jobs. Introduced me as his partner with such pride in his voice. We still live separately, him in the guest house, me in the main house, following my father's conditions. But every evening, after his work was done, he'd come to dinner, sit with my family, make an effort to be more than just a hired muscle. My mother adored him, would pull him aside to teach him how she liked her tea, would tell him embarrassing stories about me as a child, would smile in that knowing way when she caught us stealing kisses in the hallway. My father was harder, still testing Jihoon constantly, giving him the most dangerous jobs, watching to see if he'd fail, if he'd prove unworthy. But Jihoon never did. He passed every test, met every challenge, proved and over that he was serious, that he loved me, that he'd die before letting anything happen to me. 6 months after the attack, Jihoon took me back to that roof where we'd first confessed our feelings. The city sprawled below us, all lights and shadows, just like before. "I have something for you," he said quietly. He pulled out a small box, not a ring, something else. Inside was a simple silver necklace with a Korean character on it. "It says sarang," he explained. "Love. I wanted you to carry a piece of me with you, always." I was crying as he fastened it around my neck. "It's perfect. There's more." He took a breath. "I talked to your father about the future, about us, about what I want." "What did you say?" "That I want to marry you, someday, when you're ready, when we've built something stable enough to last. That I want to spend my life keeping you safe and happy and loved." My heart stopped. "What did he say?" "He said," Jihoon smiled. "He said if I can make it a year without making you cry, he'll give his blessing. A year. Which means I have 6 months left." He cupped my face. "Think you can put up with me for another 6 months?" "I think I can manage." He kissed me, under the stars, on the roof where everything had started. And for the first time in my life, the future didn't feel like a prison. It felt like possibility. But of course, nothing in this life stays perfect for long. 3 weeks later, everything changed again. Jihoon came to my room late one night. His face was grave, worried. "We need to talk." My stomach dropped. "What's wrong?" "I got word from Korea. The people I ran from, they know where I am. They're sending someone." "To kill you?" "To kill me. And probably you too, once they realize you're important to me." Fear clutched my chest. "What do we do?" "Your father is handling it, increasing security, setting up countermeasures, but..." He took my hands. "I need you to promise me something. If anything happens, if they get through, if things go wrong, you run. You don't look back. You don't try to save me. You just run." "No. Please, no. I'm not leaving you. They won't just kill me. They'll make it slow, painful, make me watch while they hurt you. I can't..." His voice cracked. "I can't let that happen." I gripped his hands tighter. "Then we make sure it doesn't. Together." He looked at me for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Together." "When are they coming?" "I don't know. Could be days, could be weeks, but they're coming." We spent that night holding each other. Both of us afraid, both of us trying to be brave for the other. In the morning, the estate was like a fortress. More men, more guns, more cameras, everyone on high alert. My father pulled me aside. "Jihoon told you?" "Yes. He wants me to send you away, somewhere safe. But I told him that's your decision. I'm not leaving him." My father sighed. "I figured you'd say that, stubborn, just like your mother." He's paused. "He's good for you. I see that now. Makes you happy, makes you strong. So we keep him safe. Whatever it takes." "Thank you, Dad." "Don't thank me yet. This isn't over." Days passed in tense anticipation. Nothing happened, no attacks, no threats. Just waiting. Jihoon barely slept, was constantly checking security, running drills, preparing for war. I'd find him at 3 in the morning, staring at camera feeds, his coffee long gone cold. "You need to rest," I'd tell him. "I will. When this is over. It might not be over for weeks. Then I'll rest in weeks." Stubborn, but I loved him for it. 2 weeks later, it happened. It was a Sunday, beautiful day, clear sky. Nothing seemed wrong. Jihoon and I were in the garden. He was teaching me Korean cooking terms, making me laugh with his patient corrections of my terrible pronunciation. Then his phone buzzed. He checked it. His face went white. Get inside now. What? Now. The urgency in his voice made me move. He was right behind me, his hand on my back, guiding me quickly toward the house. We were 10 feet from the door when the first shot rang out. The world exploded into chaos. Jahoon shoved me behind a stone planter, his body covering mine. More shots shouting, alarms blaring. Stay down, he ordered. Then he was up, gun in hand, returning fire. I watched him move, watched him fight, watched 3 men fall. Then more appeared, too many. One of my father's men went down, then another. Jahoon was outnumbered, bleeding, still fighting. I saw the man behind him, saw the gun rising, saw everything happen in slow motion. I screamed a warning. Jahoon turned, but not fast enough. The shot caught him in the chest. He went down hard. No. No. I was moving before I could think, crawling to him. He was gasping, blood spreading across his shirt, so much blood. Stay with me, I begged. Please stay with me. His hand found mine, gripped tight. Love you. Don't you dare say goodbye to me. More shots. Someone was dragging us. Inside, safety, EMTs appearing, chaos. I held his hand through all of it, wouldn't let go, even when they tried to pull me away to work on him. I'm not leaving him, I said through tears. I'm not leaving. And I didn't. Not in the ambulance, not in the hospital, not during surgery, not during recovery. I stayed. Because he'd stayed for me. Because love means not letting go. Even when everything's falling apart, especially then. He survived, barely, but he survived. And when he woke up 3 days later, the first thing he saw was me, holding his hand, right where I'd been since the moment he fell. Hey, I whispered. Hey, he rasped back. You scared me. Sorry. Do it again, and I'll kill you myself. He laughed, winced. Deal. The men who'd come for him were dead. My father had made sure of that, and sent a very clear message back to Korea. Jahoon was under his protection. Anyone who touched him would burn. It took weeks for him to recover, months to fully heal. But he did. And through it all, I was there. Because that's what love is. Not the easy moments, not the stolen kisses and whispered promises. It's staying when everything falls apart. It's holding on when letting go would be easier. It's choosing each other over and over, despite the danger and the fear and the impossibility of it all. 6 months later, on the anniversary of that first night on the roof, Jahoon took me back there again. He was nervous, I could tell. Kept fidgeting with something in his pocket. What's going on? I asked. He took a breath. It's been a year since your father gave his conditions, and I haven't made you cry. Not once. I checked. You kept count? Every single day. He pulled out a small box, different from before. Which means he gave his blessing. So I'm asking, will you marry me? Will you let me spend the rest of my life loving you and protecting you and probably driving you crazy? I was crying, happy tears, but still tears. You made me cry, I said through my sobs. Happy tears don't count. That was in the agreement. You negotiated happy tears? I negotiated everything. I'm very thorough. I laughed and cried and threw my arms around him. Yes, I'll marry you. He slipped a ring on my finger. Simple, perfect, us. I love you, he whispered. I love you too. We stood there on that roof, holding each other, the city breathing around us, 2 people who shouldn't have worked, who definitely shouldn't have fallen in love, but did anyway. And you know what? We're still figuring it out. Still navigating his world and mine, still dealing with danger and secrets and complications, but we're doing it together. Because loving Jahoon taught me that the best things in life are the ones worth fighting for, worth bleeding for, worth risking everything for. He's mine, I'm his, and nothing, not my father's world, not his past, not the danger that follows us, nothing will change that, even if it kills us, which, knowing our luck, it probably will. But at least we'll burn together. And honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. The wedding is in 3 months. Small, private. Just family and the people who won't shoot each other at the reception. My father is walking me down the aisle. Ji-hoon's grandmother is flying in from Korea. It'll be beautiful and probably dangerous and absolutely perfect because that's us. That's our love. Dangerous, impossible, perfect. If you want to hear what happens at the wedding, and trust me, you do, because let me tell you, mixing Korean mafia with American organized crime at an open bar is going to be absolutely insane. Make sure you're subscribed. Hit that notification bell. Because the next chapter of this story, it's going to be wild, but for now, I'm going to go find my fiancé. He's probably checking security cameras and planning escape routes for our honeymoon. Because old habits die hard, but love, real love, that's forever. Even when forever is dangerous, especially then.